The Philippine flag's origins can be traced back to the Philippine Revolution against the Spaniards in 1896. It is customary to link the evolution of the Philippine flag to the different war standards on the individual Katipunan leaders. At that time, the Philippines didn't have a national flag, but when they had to revolt against Spain, the revolutionary group knew they had to raise a banner that would serve as a symbol for the country. This sparked a series of events that ultimately gave rise to the Philippine flag, which is now well known. The Katipuneros produced the majority of the Philippine flags in the early years of the revolutionary period. Initially, there were two versions of the flag, one with the letters KKK arranged in a row, and the other with the same letters but arranged to form an equilateral triangle. The number of letters was eventually lowered to just one. Another variation had an Old Tagalog letter K enclosed in the shape of an 8-rayed sun. Katipunan was symbolized by the letter K. All of these flags had a rectangular shape, and the red fabric was used to represent the Katipuneros' revolutionary nature. The decision to create a new flag was made as the second stage of the Philippine Revolution was being planned. The new flag was personally designed by General Emilio Aguinaldo, President of the Revolutionary Government. It was sewn by Mrs. Marcela Marino Agoncillo, the spouse of the first Filipino diplomat Felipe Agoncillo, at 535 Morrison Hill Road in Hong Kong, with the help from Lorenza, Lorenza's daughter, and Mrs. Delfina Herbosa Natividad, the niece of Dr. Jose Rizal and the wife of General Salvador Natividad. General Aguinaldo received the flag from Mrs. Agoncillo before he climbed aboard the American dispatch boat McCulloch on May 17, 1898 to travel to the Philippines. The flag was made in just 5 days. The Filipino forces and Spanish Marines engaged in a bloody battle on May 28, diverting the revolutionaries from their original plan to wage war against the Spanish forces on May 30, 1898. On May 28, 1898, during a battle, the current Philippine flag was first flown, leading to the celebration of Philippine Flag Day on that day. This took place in Alapan, Imos, and Cavite, where the Philippine flag was baptized in flames and blood. The flag was raised by General Aguinaldo as a declaration of victory over Spain. During the proclamation of the nation's independence in front of the Filipino people on June 12, 1898, the Philippine flag, which had been brought from Hong Kong, was formally unfurled at the historic window of the Aguinaldo Mansion in Kawit, Cavite. The General Emilio Aguinaldo Museum in Baguio is home to the original flag, which was raised for the first time on May 28 and unfurled on June 12. The Philippine flag is now flown from May 28 to June 12 each year as a reminder of the sacrifices and struggles made by Filipino heroes who opted to fight for freedom and independence. Silk made up the fabric of the original flag. 8 of the sun's rays stand in for the first 8 provinces to rebel against Spain, and the sun itself is a symbol of liberty. The provinces represented by each ray are Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, Pampanga, Morong, now Rizal, Laguna, Batangas, and Nueva Ecija. These provinces were all heavily involved in the 1896 Philippine Revolution against Spain. The 3 stars represent the 3 major Philippine islands of Mindanao, Visayas, and Luzon. Regarding the colors, the white stripe stands for liberty, fraternity, and equality. Justice, peace, and truth are symbolized by the blue stripe. Last but not least, the red stripe represents bravery and patriotism. When the red stripes are on top, this signals that the country is in a state of war. The nation is said to be at peace when the blue stripe is on top. In 1899, there was a war between the United States and the Philippines. On February 4, 1899, the flag was flown for the first time with the red stripe up. After being captured by the Americans 2 years later, Aguinaldo swore allegiance to the United States. Displaying the Philippine flag anywhere was forbidden under the American regime under the Flag Act of 1907, and those who disobeyed were subject to harsh penalties. This was evidenced by the suppression of zarzuelas under the Sedition Act. In zarzuelas, a popular Spanish style of musical theater, actresses' costumes had already incorporated the national colors as an allegory of the actual thing. Filipinos have never abandoned their allegiance to their flag. 11 years later, the ban was lifted, and on October 13, 1919, an executive order was issued designating that day as Philippine Flag Day, allowing respect for the Philippine flag. Governor-General Francis Borton Harrison gave his approval to the Philippine Legislature's Act repealing the flag law on October 13, 1919. Senator Rafael Palma, whose brother Jose Palma wrote the lyrics to the Philippine National Anthem, was the bill's sponsor. The flag, while authorized and revered during this historic event, had a few minor errors. The 30th of October, the day the ban on the Philippine flag was lifted in 1919, was designated as Flag Day until the eve of World War II. The technical description and specifications for the Filipino flag were laid out in Executive Order No. 23, which was issued on March 25, 1920 by Manuel L. Quezon, the president at that time. On March 26, 1920, the Philippine Legislature passed Act No. 2928, which provided for the adoption of the Philippine flag as the official flag for the Philippine Islands. During the Japanese Army's invasion, which began in December 1941, the flag was momentarily outlawed. The flag was once more raised in a formal ceremony on July 4, 1946, when the Americans granted the Philippines independence. The National Historical Institute was then given additional instructions designating it as the expert on Philippine vexillarios and harlequins. One of the nation's symbols, the Philippine flag, has a colorful history because it stood as witness to the glorious events of Philippine history. While it symbolizes the nation's ideals, patriotism, and aspirations, the flag also stands for the freedom that Filipino Revolution leaders and ancestors fought and died for. Please support this channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing so we can produce more videos that highlights the Philippines and Filipinos.